Hello everyone, my name is Sean and today I'm going to be going over how to set up a very basic network within Cisco. Now, the program that we're going to be using today is called Cisco Packet Tracer. Basically, it's a simulation program that allows us to interact with command line environments and also allows us to show an overall topology of what our networks are going to look like. Now, before we actually get started, I would recommend, especially for beginners, drawing out a sort of a map that will show us which IP addresses, which interfaces, and pretty much an overall look at what our network is going to look like. So before you start getting everything together, this map that you draw out before will just allow you to just move with all the configurations and stuff very smoothly. Especially if you're taking an exam or anything, this map will really help you. So the first thing we're going to do is use the Cisco 2911 router. This happens to be the router that I use in my CCNA classes. If you use a different router for your school, I would recommend that you use the router that that they use in class. So here we are. In order to actually in Packet Tracer, in order to actually get to the command line, all you have to do is double click the device and then move over to the CLI for command line interface. Now we're going to skip the initial configuration dialog, and then here we are. So in order to actually make changes to this router, we actually have to escalate our privileges to basically a different, I don't know if you want to call it an account, but it's basically just a different assignment, to your router. I don't know if that's how you word it, but that's what I'm going with. So to do this, we actually have to type the enable command, which will move us to the privileged exec mode. Now, once we're in this mode, we're actually going to need to make configuration changes to this router. So we do that by typing configure. And if you, when you type commands, you need to partially type them. If you type CON or CONF and press tab, it'll actually complete the command for you. So in order to type configure terminal, we do TER, tab, configure terminal. Now you can see we are actually in the configuration mode now. So what do we actually want to configure? What we're going to want to configure is our interfaces. So we type interface and then select which one, which is, for this router, it has a gigabit interface, and then gigabit 00. Now, as we can tell over here to the left, our map G00 for our router 1, we're going to be doing the exact same thing over here. So what exactly do we want to give it? We're going to give it an IP address. So IP ADD tab 192.168.1.1. Now, this IP address command is actually not completed by only giving the IP address. The other things you're going to need, or the one other thing you're going to need to give it, is your subnet mask. Now, in this tutorial, we'll be doing no subnetting, we'll be doing no password assignments, no remote access, nothing like that. We're just going to be going over the very simple configurations. So, I'm going to give it the default Class C mask, which is 255.255.255 and so on, which is 24 bits used. So click enter, and then the last thing we need to do in our interface is make sure that the connection never terminates no matter what is going on. So we do that by simply typing the no shut command. And as you can see, interface gigabit Ethernet 00 the status changed to up. So let me move this to the middle. So the second thing we need to do is the same thing, just for our second interface. So we specify an interface, specify kind, which specific one, then we assign an IP address, and our subnet mask. Alright, I'll give it a no shut. And we are complete. Interface GI01 changed to up. Now all you want to do is exit, and one thing that you're going to want to do if if you're taking an exam or anything, you're just going to want to copy the running config to the startup config. So we just type copy running config to startup config. This way, if your router seems to power down, reboot, anything like that, your configurations will be saved. So the second thing we're going to do is make our two networks. Now, what exactly do we want in these networks? For this specific example, we're going to be using two switches, so we can actually get a feel for what it's like to configure these, and then two end devices, which are going to be generic PCs. And here we are. Now we're going to just cable these up, FA01 to gigabit 00, and then gigabit 01 to FA01. Now, these solid line cables are what is known as, we're actually going to put these two. This dotted cable is actually known as a crossover cable, 02, and then 02 to this port. And then the solid line cables are actually known as straight through cables. I'll be going over in a separate video on what these why these are actually separate or different, and pretty much basically why they're needed. So what we're going to be doing is now configuring our switch. Now we do this by typing enable and then configure terminal, and then it's the exact same thing as the router pretty much, and then the only thing different is going to be the interface that you're going to be interacting with. So interface, we're actually going to be going into VLAN 1, which is for management purposes, this is just an interface that will include certain ports and include different things. And then, okay. So, our interface, as you can see by the IF here, is VLAN 1, and we're going to be assigning it an IP address to classify or to assign our ports a certain IP. So we're going to be doing this by typing IP space add, and then according to our map over here to the left, we're going to be assigning it the .1.2. So 192.168.1.2 with our mask. Okay, and then the no shut. I'm pretty sure you have to do this on the VLANs, but you may not. So here we are, we got confirmation, and we are done. And let's go ahead and do it on this one. Command line, enable. See, it gets pretty, redundant after you do it a while. It's after you type out the commands and stuff like that, you'll actually be able to move pretty quickly. You'll feel like, like a hacker. Now, which interface do we want to interact with? VLAN 1, IP address. Now, the only thing that's going to change is the actual IP that we assign. It's going to be the .2, because we are on the .2 network, as you can see right here, instead of the .1 network we previously were using. Let's see here. Oh, I typed it twice. There we are. No shut, and we're good to go. Let me just go back. There we go. Sorry, I'm pretty tired. I had to do this. This is the second time I've recorded this because the recording studio thing that I was using actually deleted it as I was recording. So here we are. Now we got to copy our running config to our startup config. Here we are, and we are all good to go. So far we've assigned our VLANs IP addresses, we've assigned our interfaces IP addresses, and the last thing we're going to do is assign our end devices' IP addresses. Now for this one, we're going to be assigning it 192.168.1.3 with a subnet mask. Now, this is actually going to be the important part with our PCs. Now, our PCs need to know which path they're going to take in order to get outside of the network. So as you can see, the map we've drawn here, we're going to be assigning it this IP, and the default gateway is actually going to be the interface on our router, because seeing that a switch is actually a layer 2 device, it doesn't actually know how to route anything. So that's the purpose of our great router here. So our router's interface is 192.168.1.1, which is going to be our path that the PC needs to take in order to get out. There we are, 1.3, and we are good to go. It's always good to look over your configurations for a couple of seconds afterwards in order to make sure you didn't fat finger anything, or I don't know, assign the wrong mask, stuff like that. So for this guy, we're going to put 192.168.2.3 Class C subnet mask with 2.168.2.1. Okay. There we are. So, one moment. Okay. So let's go ahead and test if we can actually talk between each other. So the first thing I like to do is see if my PC can actually talk to my interface. So we're going to type First, we're going to type the ping command, then we're going to type 192.168.2.1, and we do have a reply. So, this guy here can actually speak to the path here. So let's see if we can get all the way over to this guy. Type the ping command, and then, let's see, yep, 192.168.1.3. Okay, cool. Now, the first time you ping across networks, I'm pretty sure the router has to build its ARP table. So when you see this request timed out the first time, don't get discouraged, because as long as you configured everything right, everything will be good. So there we are, mission accomplished. We've actually made these two PCs talk to each other. We've assigned basic configurations, IP addresses, and everything like that. In my next videos, I'll be actually showing you guys how to put passwords in, so no one else can make changes to your routers. And yep, that'll be that. So thank you very much, and have a great day.